Just 1 year ago, Governor Ducey named Dir Roemer director of the Arizona Department of Homeland Security. He also serves as the Chief Information Security Officer, managing cybersecurity for the entire state of Arizona. No big deal, just a little important. An ASU graduate, grew up here in Scottsdale with a Horizon High School graduate. Director Roemer spent 10 years in the CIA. His last 2 of those years at the CIA, he was assigned to the Situation Room in the White House. Director Roemer provided critical national security updates to the President, VP, and National Security Council. Today, he's going to tell us how to stay cyber safe and how his department is preparing for next year's big events. Director Roemer, thank you for joining me at the table. You're 1 year into your job, really. I mean, April of 2021 is where you started. How's it going? First year on.
Thank you for having me. It's going really well. There's plenty to keep us busy, from everything from border security to cybersecurity, and working on securing the Super Bowl for next year as well. Scottsdale is going to have a really critical role in the Super Bowl. The last time we had the Super Bowl here 8 years ago was actually my first week on the job back in Arizona. My predecessor, who was our director of Homeland Security at the time, I moved home from D.C., as you mentioned, working for the CIA. Yeah. I had served 2 years in the White House Situation Room. So from 2012 to 2014, I staffed the Situation Room for President Obama.
Wow.
And I came back to work for Governor Ducey. And immediately you go from the White House to working and going to a Super Bowl. And I remember thinking, wow, this job is awesome. And my boss actually said, it's not always like this. And so thankfully, 8 years later, we get it back.
What is more difficult, having your job and your title here in Arizona as the Department of Homeland Security, or working at the White House and the CIA for the Situation Room?
I think this is more difficult, and
Really?
I'll be completely candid with you. What I've learned is most of our security and public safety is more local than I ever gave it credit for. I thought when you work for these big, powerful 3-letter acronym agencies like CIA that we could solve any problem in the world and go after terrorists and take them off the battlefield somewhere so we don't have to face them here at home. But I honestly think that the depth and the breadth of the plethora of public safety issues that we have to face at a local level, and we are the first and the last line of defense, I think it's more difficult here. The learning curve was a little bit more than I thought it was going to be. So we started with the Super Bowl, and now 8 years later, we're going to bring that Super Bowl back. And like I said, Scottsdale is going to play a critical role because, you're going to have a team practicing in Scottsdale. You've got the Phoenix Open taking place here. You usually have a team. One of the teams is staying in Scottsdale. A lot of the guests, for good reason, that come into town, they stay in Scottsdale for good reasons. That Scottsdale vibes, right? And they're all flying in and out. A lot of your high-profile people, they're flying in and out of Scottsdale Airport and staying here as well. So our partnership with Scottsdale PD is really key.
Talk to me about if it's so important on the local level, state level, and stuff like that, what are some things that you can tell us, I'm sure there's a lot that you can't, that we can do from just a person who started a podcast to someone in your, position to keep us safe? Keep
it really simple. Be aware of your surroundings, see something, say something, and trust your gut. This works for everything on the physical level to the cybersecurity level. I'll give you a couple examples. You're walking to your car, something doesn't feel right, something doesn't look right. Trust your gut, be aware of your surroundings, don't be so tunnel vision, always having your eyes on your phone, because that's when criminals are looking around and they're wondering if you're at the mall and you're walking around, or you're going to your car, or you're at an event, they're looking for people who are distracted. Cybersecurity is actually the same as physical security. They're trying to distract you with like a spear phishing email. They're trying to get you to look at a buzzword or something and make you think it looks legitimate. If it doesn't look right, don't click on it. You can always go to the app on your phone or the website on your laptop that you're used to using. There is no reason whatsoever that you have to click on a link that's in a text message or an email. Even if you think it is legitimately from your bank, that's fine. Go to the application that you use, like Bank of America's app. Just go directly to it. Don't let the criminals win. It's really simple. Being aware of your surroundings, and then trusting your gut, and then reporting things. So when things don't look right, if somebody looks suspicious at the mall or something, say something. And then when a phishing email comes in, report that to Gmail. Click those buttons, take those actions.
That's good to know. Specific to us in Arizona, what are some of the biggest challenges that we're facing here safety-wise?
We already mentioned the Super Bowl. The Phoenix Open, though, every year. What people don't realize is the Phoenix Open is the second most attended sporting event in the entire country every year, only second to the Indianapolis 500.
Wow, I did not know that.
That's fun fact for you, number one. Fun fact for you, number two, is during that weekend, the TPC Scottsdale is the second largest city in the state of Arizona.
The second largest, the golf course.
Just the golf course, just the event.
City.
The week of the Phoenix Open, they bring in, so they do not post attendance to the Phoenix Open anymore, which is a very big change. Let's just say that the attendance this year would have been more people than the city of Tucson.
Wow. I mean, y'all are doing a great job handling it. So how do you work with each other? Because I learned I had SPD on a couple times, so I talked to them about it. I mean, you all work together with all departments in the Valley and stuff like that. Are y'all kind of in charge of it? Does it go down to like the local people have it and you work together with them? How does that work?
So we're not in charge. Scottsdale PD is in charge.
Okay.
We're just a force multiplier. You just really touched on it though, all the different jurisdictions. The way you do it is teamwork.
Yeah.
Everybody will tell you that. When you go to the Phoenix Open, you're going to see Chandler police on like horseback. You're going to see MCSO. You're going to see a wide variety, and you're going to look and you're almost going to be like, why is Tempe police here? Because of teamwork. Because it's just too many people and too large of a setting that Scottsdale PD can't do that alone. Scottsdale PD is phenomenal, and they have lead, but it needs to be good teamwork where we assist with grant funding. We fund camera systems, technology, things like that help get eyes on the crowds, help you respond really quickly. If you see something that doesn't look right, the control center, so basically the command center and the emergency operations center, they've got eyes on everything, which is good. They work really well with the Thunderbirds just to keep things, moving along seamlessly, keeping everybody safe, keeping them happy, making sure they're having a good time. But also it helps you respond very quickly to people that might get dehydrated. We'll put it that way, not drinking enough water out there, a little hot. Maybe consuming some other, products. But when, let's say we see it every year, somebody passes out, it's really great to have those camera systems in place that the firefighters can see that and immediately, boom, they're right over there to be able to help somebody. So, Phoenix Open I mentioned, but protecting critical infrastructure. So the biggest threat, around the country right now, whether it's, a threat from Russia or from just criminals, they're going after, mainly on cybersecurity, but on other physical security threats. They want to go after our critical infrastructure. That means our energy sector, our water sector, which in Arizona is so critical because we live in the middle of a desert. We're in the middle of a horrible drought.
Yeah.
We've got to protect our water systems. That means every city water, every state water, every county, you name it, private sector companies. So protecting our critical infrastructure is really critical.
Let's talk a little bit about that because we've seen tons of news reports about everything. Like that's where they're saying the next terrorist attack or anything like that will be cyber-wise on our the power plants and stuff like that. What's specific to Arizona? And in my mind, it's like, we're freaking Arizona. Like, who cares about us but us kind of thing. But you're like, actually, it's the complete opposite. They want some of these smaller towns because they're more vulnerable. How are we keeping ourselves safe here in Arizona with stuff like that?
Well, you're absolutely right. You've heard me talk about this before, so you're well informed on this. But they'll go after anybody who's vulnerable. So in a state like Arizona, it doesn't matter who you are. They want to go after smaller, rural, cities, rural counties, or small businesses as well. And a small business will say, why was I a target? And we said, because you were vulnerable. Because it was easy for them to get in, easy to ransom, off your data to try to make some money off you. That's what these criminals do. Most of the criminals are in it for the financial gain of it. So everybody's vulnerable. And then in addition to that, under critical infrastructure is your healthcare sector and your financial sector.
Yeah.
So that's a huge target. Any hospital system, Banner Hospital, largest employer in the state of Arizona. So they have to be really on top of it, protecting their citizen data and their patient data, but also keeping those hospitals up and running all day, every day. I mean, we just came out of a pandemic.
Right.
So, I mean, we know that our entire livelihoods are on the backbone of our healthcare system. And then, not to mention, pipelines, getting gas, huge targets in the financial sector. Because what these nation states want to do is they want to affect our daily lives. So if they can target a bank and they go after a bank and they can get one bank to go down, let's say you can't get money out of an ATM of one major bank or one local bank even here, they want to cause panic. So you may not, capitalism is a beautiful thing. They might be able to take down one bank, let's say one credit union somewhere in Arizona. But if that one credit union is like, oh my God, we can't give you money right now, we're down, you can't get money out, people panic.
Oh, yeah.
People panic very quickly. We saw that with the toilet paper crisis which makes absolutely no logical sense whatsoever during the pandemic. People panic. We always say our biggest concern in any emergency is public panic and consumer response.
Interesting.
That will be worse than the emergency itself by 10 times in a lot of situations. It's the panic that is caused by people, and then you get into potential rioting or looting or anything else. We drill all the time with the National Guard and the Department of Emergency Management, and one of the main things we do is just, how do we keep people calm? How do we keep people safe in any environment where people panic?
That's interesting because you're so right, and we've seen that the past couple years. I mean, we all did panic, and it goes back to what you said though, that gut reaction that you have to try to control and stuff.
Well, like we
that.
get to say in the industry, preparation beats panic every time.
Yeah. And that was my fear too about the whole bank system. It's like, I don't keep a lot, I'm not one to just carry a bunch of cash because who needs it nowadays? Everything is online. So how do we keep our self safe, tongue twister, online? What can I do? Besides, to me, there are some basic things that everyone should do. Two-factor authentication, have it on everything. I just realized one of my accounts did not have it, and I got called out on it very quickly and fixed that. What are some other things that we can do cyber-wise to keep us safe?
Well, I've had multiple friends lately get their social media accounts hacked. One of them got hacked and it was used for a cryptocurrency scam. Another was just
I've had a friend that happened too.
It's happened a lot. When Twitter got taken down a couple years ago, it got taken down by an 18-year-old and like a 15-year-old. Incredible stuff. And they could take down Twitter to put things into perspective. So believe me, I said one time, well, if that's who's taking down Twitter, does that mean I'm up against like 12-year-olds?
Yes,
and
it does.
I might actually be. But either way, it doesn't matter the age, it's the sophistication that they have right now. So things that you can do, you mentioned the multi-factor. Yeah. So I've said that to my friends as well. Turn on multi-factor. It's so easy to go in your privacy settings on any social media account and turn it on. For example, Gmail now makes it a default in your Gmail account, if you use that, to automatically use multi-factor. If anybody doesn't know what multi-factor is, it's that second form of authentication, sends you that code saying, hey, we don't recognize this device. If it's really you, type in this code that we just texted to your cell phone number or that we emailed to your account. That's key. Other couple quick things, be careful about the information that you post about yourself online. Criminals use something called social engineering. Well, they will just really quickly Google you. They'll go to a couple of your social media accounts. They'll go to your work bio and say, okay, I think I know some basic information about you, like where you went to high school, your dog's name, what year did you graduate, where did you go to college, go to your LinkedIn profile. They're going to find out some basic things. They're probably going to try to guess your password. Again, why having multi-factor on there is good. Or they're going to try to reset your password for you. Think about this. How many times have you reset your password?
Not often.
Oh, well, good. That's a good thing.
Oh,
but
really? Okay.
When people go to reset their password, you find out your security questions are really basic. It's like mother's maiden name, what year did you graduate from high school, things like that. And criminals will use the information you put about yourself out there. They'll use that back against you. And then lastly, don't use the same password for everything.
Right.
If one password goes down, you don't want all of your accounts to be in jeopardy. I had a friend that just happened to her as well, where like a Facebook account went down, and then they would use that one password to get into all kinds of other social media accounts. So use a different password. You and I discussed this before we started. Length beats complexity.
Yeah, that was news to me because I was always taught use as many random symbols, numbers, and letters.
Yeah.
But it's not the case, you're saying.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it was news to me as well when my team told me a couple years ago. I started running cybersecurity for the state, and I was talking to somebody, I was talking about complex passwords, and they said, hey, you know what, Roemer? That's not really the industry standard anymore. We are now saying length beats complexity. So for all your listeners out there, that means choose a phrase that's important to you that might be 15 to 20 characters. That's going to be harder for somebody to hack into than an 8-letter that's an upper and lower case and a special, character and numbers. They like length beats complexity right now.
How, is it really random that someone like me would be targeted? Do they have something, when I say they, I mean the cybersecurity attackers, do they have something on their computer that sees I'm vulnerable, so that's what they pick up? How does this work?
It's a wide variety of different ways. Data mining, where on the dark web these criminals can go to, and sometimes they don't even have to pay money, and it's basically just a compilation of all the known usernames and passwords that have been exposed. So somewhere somebody exposed your username and password through like a data breach. And it could be a legitimate, like, okay, Target had a huge, infamous data breach with debit card numbers 10 years ago or whatever it was. Okay, now all that could be somewhere, and then if you didn't make a change, they're gonna try to take what they knew and what was exposed, and then now they're gonna try to use it back against you. So you may not specifically be a target, but for some reason, some of your data could have been exposed somewhere, and that's when these companies are supposed to notify you and saying, hey, you know, your data was exposed, we need to warn you, and we're going to pay for, you know, identity theft protection for the next year, those types of things. So sometimes it's not you personally, it's just that you get grouped into a list of vulnerable users.
Okay, that's good to know. That happened to me. I at a previous job in DC, actually, I was working for an Arabic news station, and I got an email. Now, again, I deal with Arabs all over the Middle East, so for me to get an email from there did not seem awkward. I clicked on it multiple times and destroyed our company's server.
Oh, no.
Luckily, we had our office was in DC, our headquarters was in London. The London one had just done a backup 6 hours early because they had it set up to do that.
Very good.
But brought down our DC office. And again, I was clickbaited, and I had a very long talking to. I got called into the office, I'll say, of our IT department. But I learned a lot. It was like, this looked normal to me. And the reason I kept clicking on it was because it wasn't popping up. And they're like, first thing you should have noticed, if it wasn't working properly, you were baited,
right. That
kind of way.
Well, don't make yourself feel too bad. You know, we've had state employees click on phishing emails and then mark their emails as unread. They'll actually fool us, and that's not the case for any of our state employees
okay. Good to know.
Out there. Yeah, your IT departments can see that. So if anybody out there thinking like, man, if I accidentally click on an email, I'll just mark it unread and nobody in my IT department will ever know. Trust me, they'll know. And we do the training for the entire state. So I'm responsible for 36,000 state of Arizona employees. I said day one when I took over, we were going to raise the bar of our weakest links, and no offense to our employees, and I'm one of them, we as humans are our weakest links.
Yeah.
We're going to mandate statewide cybersecurity awareness training for every single employee every year. It's amazing nobody keyed my car that I know of for this reason that I know of. But you know, it's 1 hour of training basically, and then we fish our employees more often. We have a little probably too much fun with this, where my team will come up with like best practices on like how can I get an employee to click on an email for training purposes. And for the listeners out there, we're not sick. We have to have a little bit of fun with it, but you have to protect your employees. And we would rather catch them clicking on something that says like free Cardinals tickets or Suns are hot right now, right? Obviously, you know, rally the valley. So, you know, let's say hypothetically we did like a, you know, Suns ticket type thing. You're trying to teach employees to be more skeptical of the things they click on in order to protect every one of your listeners, because we're in charge of protecting the data of all 7.5 million Arizonans out there. So your driver's license data, your tax return data, you name it. The state of Arizona has it, and it's difficult. It's a very stressful job. Yeah. And I said the way that we should definitely start improving upon this is let's start investing in our employees. I have a great talking point that I love to use, and I really mean it. We turned our cybersecurity team from 16 people in a cyber command center to 36,000. We did it with no additional funding because we already own the licenses for cybersecurity awareness training. And I tell everybody it's because we made all 36,000 state of Arizona employees part of our cyber team by training them and making sure they were starting to be cognizant on what they clicked on, their password security, and general good cyber hygiene with the way they use their devices.
Have you seen a change in the past year?
Big time.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
When we first started doing the phishing emails, we saw like around a 20% click rate. And maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. I think it was around like 15% maybe click rate. We're down like below 4% click rate now. Yeah, which my team still reminds me though, I wasn't a math major, but they're like 4% of 36,000 still more than we want clicking on emails.
I'm with you. I like it, but it's 4. It's a lot lower than what it was.
Exactly.
I want to take a short break. When we come back, I still have plenty more I want to learn from you.
Great.
I have Director Tim Roemer, the Director of Arizona Department of Homeland Security with me. All right, we've been talking about cybersecurity, how to stay safe and like that. You've talked to us about how you're going to keep us protected. with all the big events, Waste Management and Barrett-Jackson are every year, but the Super Bowl is next year. One thing, by the way, I met you at a Scottsdale Chamber events where I met you and heard this big speech, so this is where my next question comes from. Sex trafficking is big, the borders and stuff like that. You've kind of talked about controlling. Tell me a little bit more about that. I'll admit I'm very naive to kind of stuff like that, so Arizona is a big hot spot for that, and when big events like that come in, I know it's a big time to recruit vulnerable people.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for bringing it up because it's something I'm really passionate about. So I have the honor of serving on the Arizona Human Trafficking Council, and I've served on that council for a few years. And it's really opened up my eyes. And I was naive about it prior to serving on the council as well. But what you don't understand about human trafficking is people often confuse human smuggling with human trafficking. So there's listeners out there right now, and they hear human trafficking, and what they think of as human smuggling, which is like somebody stuffed into trucks, driving them into the country. That's human smuggling. Human trafficking is the force, fraud, or coercion into controlling human beings to do things that they don't voluntarily want to do. And so when it comes down to sex trafficking, it's the exploitation of men and women, or boys and girls, sadly, exploiting them for sex trafficking. In that, again, it's force, fraud, and coercion. That's what's in law. And they do that through a wide variety of means. They find vulnerable people that they then take control of. It could be a drug addiction. It could be somebody is homeless. It could be, and I'm going to tie the two together, what we're working on right now is human smuggling. Somebody being smuggled across the border can lead to human trafficking. Because what happens is, let's say a woman gets smuggled across the border, just an example. They don't have enough money to pay the human smugglers the fees to come into the country. So people don't understand about border security is everybody's paying a fee to the transnational criminal organizations, mainly the Sinaloa cartel in Sonora, Mexico, to come into the country. Well, if you don't have the thousands of dollars to give, they might say, oh, well, you can work this off. It could be labor trafficking. It could be sex trafficking, a number of things. Sadly, once you fall into that, a lot of these horrific criminals will not let you out. And what we see from a lot of victims is that once they get into it, they might be tricked into doing this and get into it that way through like a gang member or somebody who they thought was a friend. And then once they're in it, now they're being forced to continuously do it through, either harm or the threat of harm or any number of things. So it's a much bigger problem in our nation and in our state than people realize, and it's because they're not thinking about it from the exploitation of human beings. And we have horrific criminals out there that our council is working hard to go after the criminals, prosecute them, put them behind bars, but also help the victims. Where we've come so far in Arizona is passing good laws, thanks to Governor Ducey's leadership, thanks to Ambassador Cindy McCain's leadership, and everyone on our Arizona Human Trafficking Council. We have changed laws in Arizona to help protect the victims. So a lot of times, if a victim got charged with like prostitution when they were being human trafficked, we can take those convictions away, get them the treatment they need, give them the services they need so they can get back on their feet. Those are some of the things that we're really proud about in Arizona. But to tie this to the Super Bowl, yes, big events tend to bring in clients, clientele, those services, that exploitation. It's really unfortunate, but thanks to strong partnerships through advocacy, like through the tourism industry, we get hotel workers, we get truckers to start paying attention to this type of thing, so they get educated. Education is really key. Like we talked awareness and cybersecurity. You need to train hotel staff and what to look for, just the same way we've trained Arizona DPS troopers what to look for. Now that troopers are aware of it, troopers have saved hundreds of victims through the last few years by when they pull somebody over, let's say on I-17, I-10, I-40 somewhere, and something doesn't look right, they'll separate people in the vehicle. They'll separate, say, a teenage girl in the back seat from two older people, let's say two older men in the front seats, and they'll ask simple questions like, who is that person and why are they with you? And if the stories don't match up, they're not going back in the same car together.
Take them right there.
Yep.
It is really scary, and I think it just goes back to, it's one of those things, I'm not ignorant to how life is around here, but I don't know the signs to look for. I mean, I've seen pictures, ads in the airport in Phoenix, of watching out for it and stuff like that.
It's not just, so like one of the common areas of sex trafficking is like a massage parlor. So it could be, in Scottsdale or anywhere, in the valley. And so those are known places for it. But it exists a lot. It exists a lot on these websites, and we've had to work hard to go after those responsible for these horrific crimes and to prosecute them, and again, to help the victims. So yeah, unfortunately, this exploitation issue remains an issue nationwide, but thanks to some strong leadership from people, again, like Ambassador Cindy McCain, like Governor Ducey, we're making a real dent in this problem, and we're really helping people.
What is your biggest concern? Like, how do you sleep at night? Because you know so much shading.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you sleep at night, and what's on the top of your mind?
Boy, I don't get as much sleep as I would like to, obviously. I think cybersecurity keeps me up more than anything, and the reason is cybersecurity has no borders. So I can go to an event and feel comfortable about, okay, we got good security at the Phoenix Open or good security at the Super Bowl. Now, granted, there's no such thing as 100% security. The problem with cybersecurity is there's no border. So I'm not, I'm not defending the Phoenix Open or a Super Bowl from like Russia's military,
right?
China's military. But you know what I am defending against Russia's military and China's military and everybody else? Cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Those thousands and thousands of trained hackers that work for nation states are constantly coming after U.S. government organizations. That's why understanding the complexity of the issue, that's the one that unfortunately keeps me up at night.
Do the United States work within each other and work with other countries close on stuff like that, I assume?
Yeah, there's really good partnerships there. But lastly, I should mention counterterrorism specifically. So when I started my career at CIA was, a few years after 9/11. And I thought I would spend the rest of my career on the whole counterterrorism front. I think our nation and our world has fallen a little bit asleep on counterterrorism. We've been very successful going after ISIS and Al-Qaeda and a few other terrorist organizations, and great, good for us. We've had some good leadership, we've had some good policies. After 9/11 and other large terrorist attacks, we take the threat seriously. The problem is that from what I'm seeing, I'm not sure the attention is there as much as it needs to be, and terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda are perfectly fine going away for a little while to plan large-scale attacks, and then they want to come back and they want to hit you big. So cybersecurity keeps me up at night, but I've got to throw in the terrorism one because I just feel like we've been too fortunate within the last decade or so, and these terrorist organizations, they didn't just, magically start liking the United States of America the last few years. So they're going to
imagine
I know,
why.
right? They didn't magically say, "Oh, okay, we're not going to attack you anymore." Granted, a lot of success to the intelligence agencies, to our military, for going after them, but that's one that really keeps me up at night because I just think that it's been too calm for too long.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. How does a Horizon High School graduate from Scottsdale, Arizona, end up at the CIA? I mean, is that what you were, an 8-year-old boy running around, going to be like, I'm going to be in charge of cybersecurity one day? Like,
no.
How did you get up to that?
No, I enjoyed playing video games. That's probably the only thing I have in common with the cybersecurity experts on my team. They're far smarter than me. I've told them I'm pretty much just your spokesman.
Yeah.
By now, they can do wonderful things that I can't. They make me look good. They do a lot of the hard work. I'm very grateful for them and for their service to the state. My grandpa was a career FBI agent and took down the Chicago mob.
Wow.
And I grew up kind of idolizing him. So there was that. But 8-year-old me, no, 8-year-old me wanted to be a professional athlete. Even 18-year-old me wanted to be a professional athlete. I took a scholarship. I played football and baseball at Horizon, and then I was in student council. So I ended up on a football scholarship as a quarterback at NAU. I went up there. It didn't really work out. A lot of concussions, a lot of injuries. I spent my entire winter break when I was home in physical therapy for whiplash and trying to get treatment for some concussions. I ended up deciding it wasn't a good idea to move forward. So I stopped playing football. I transferred to ASU. I'm a sophomore at ASU. I'm 20 years old, early 2000s. Graduated from high school in 2002, so it's probably like 2003. I went to a job fair at ASU Student Union, networked with a young guy from Arizona who was there, put in for an internship, And the next thing I knew, I was taking a lifestyle polygraph inside a nondescript building in Tysons Corner, Virginia, thinking, how the heck did I get here? But people ask me how the heck I got through that and how I launched my whole career, and I'm really honest. I think I was so young, and I was so naive, and I didn't even know what I was getting myself into, that I wasn't nervous. I wasn't hiding anything. I was real loose in the polygraph. I was real loose in the psychological examination and everything else they put us through, because I didn't think I had anything to lose. I thought I had everything to gain. And when I got that first internship, it launched my entire career. That's what led to all my great assignments. That's what led to the CIA, paying for my senior year of college at ASU and working 10 years for them before I moved home, was that first internship. So Scottsdale, Arizona, Tim Roemer, was definitely dreaming of being a professional athlete. But life comes at you fast. And ultimately, what I tell people out there is I tell our younger generation this a lot. You don't know what you want to do, right? I went out and I talked to Horizon baseball players recently. And the coaches asked me to come back. And I said, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you right now is you don't know what you want to do with the rest of your life. Don't make mistakes. Don't get into trouble now that take opportunities away from you, because you may not think you want to be an FBI agent right now. And you may go out and get into trouble. Let's say, unfortunately, you get a DUI or something. Well, 5 years from now, when you decide you want to be an FBI agent, that possibility is not going to be there for you because of that record. So I've tried to motivate, our youth within the Scottsdale area and at Horizon to say, hey, one of the most important things you can do right now, stay out of trouble, be a good citizen, as we used to talk about, like even in Horizon Student Council, be a good citizen in your community. And someday you'll figure out what you want to do, but you want to have as many options as possible. Because, I didn't think this was going to be it for me, but I was also smart enough to recognize a good thing. Yeah. And instead of quitting when I was 20, working, at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, as a 20-year-old ASU student.
I cannot imagine.
It might sound cool to our listeners out there, but I'm telling you right now, you take the bus to work from Tysons Corner in a hot, humid summer in Virginia as an Arizona guy, and all my friends are out partying in Old Town, having a good time, going to San Diego and Las Vegas for the weekend, and I'm, taking the bus to work. And
I know that route very well, and it's a highway that is jam-packed, and there's only one exit in and out, and you have to wait on it a lot.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, and this was before smartphones.
Yeah.
So like me, and oh, by the way, I wasn't allowed to have a phone at work because it was classified. So I would go to the bus stop and no phone on me. And I know this sounds crazy in our modern times now. And if the bus didn't show up that time, the bus just didn't show up. I'm really shocked that I made it through that first summer. You're getting rained on a bus stop, and I remember thinking to myself, like, this is it? This is this great career thing that they tell us about? Like, get ready for your great career. And I'm like, wow, I don't know about this.
What's your biggest accomplishment so far, do you feel like, out of just your very short career? Because you're still just now getting started. What are you most proud of so far?
Well, this might, surprise some people. This is the most recent thing that just happened to me on Friday, and I was talking to my family about it, and I think it's actually my proudest accomplishment. I was just awarded an honorary doctorate.
Wow.
And it's pretty cool because...
From where? Congratulations.
Thank you. University of Advancing Technology, UAT from Tempe, and they're a really prestigious small private technology university. They've got a little over 1,000 students. But they do great work, and they honored me, and I gave a speech at their commencement speech in the East Valley this past Friday. Yeah. And it was one of my proudest accomplishments because they said that based on my career within the field, they were honoring me with this doctorate in science and technology. And I just remember thinking that's probably, all weekend I've been thinking about this, it's probably what I'm most proud because it's not something I did one day.
Yeah.
I had to do it through the last 18 years. Over the last 18 years, I've worked really hard in a variety of roles, and I'm just so proud that somebody somewhere, some university, gave me that tremendous honor, and I have it proudly displayed already, a big diploma, and I've joked around with friends and family, and my kids said they have to call me Dr. Daddy now, and I said, boy, that's going to be really dangerous when somebody needs a real doctor. So I'm proud of that because, again, it wasn't like a one event type thing. I've been proud of a speech, or I've been proud of one accomplishment or one assignment where maybe I did something well, or maybe the governor of the state of Arizona were happy with me. But because this was based on, as they said, my career within the field that they were honoring me with this, That's probably what has made kind of my heart the happiest. And made me feel the most proud. Also because my kids and my mom attended the ceremony with me, and I was able to thank them in front of all these students and all this faculty, and it was fun to be able to do that in a public setting. I don't get to do that very often.
That's great. Your face just changed. You started smiling really big talking about that. So congratulations. That's a big deal. And like you said, it's something you worked a really long time for, whether you know that's what it was going for or not.
Thank you.
You're not even done yet. I
hope not.
I have no worries that you're going to continue to keep us safe. Really quick, let's wrap things up. Something really quick that you want to just remind us to do to stay safe out there.
Oh gosh, I mean, I could say this all day and be redundant, but it's being aware of your surroundings.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I'm telling you, physical or cyber, criminals prey on vulnerable people, and you'd be amazed if you just have your head on a swivel and don't be so tunnel visioned. You know, you got a lot less of a chance of being harmed. And then online it's the same way. Just don't click on links. Keep it really simple. You don't have to get real sophisticated. People always want these really highly sophisticated, security systems and everything. It's like, it's great, but also just be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, keep it simple. Before we leave, my favorite question, this ought to be easy for you or difficult, I don't know. What is your favorite Scottsdale vibe?
Ooh, great question, because there's so many. I'm so proud of Scottsdale growing up here, so I love everything from the golf courses to our great restaurant scene. And being a Horizon High School guy, the Kierland area is always like my passion. So if you're telling me like the vibe, I like the Kierland area. I'm very biased because the Kierland area was dirt when I moved to the area. Greenway Road was not pushed through to Scottsdale Road. I remember as a kid watching them push Greenway through and build a golf course and then build a couple homes. And then it was like, looking at it now, I'm very proud of the Kierland area. I love walking around the Kierland area, getting something to eat. Favorite bar is Rooster Tavern, just south of Acoma. I just like that type of a feel because, Coach House in Old Town, one of my favorite spots. But sometimes, getting in and out of Old Town can be a little difficult. Rooster Tavern is pretty much my spot. And I love our coffee shops. I love, Maverick Coffee off of Shea. And those types of places to me kind of embody everything that's great about Scottsdale, Arizona. And Scottsdale's so great because you can go from Coach House all the way up to, let's say Sophia's Kitchen, great Italian restaurant up in DC Ranch. Those are kind of my vibes. I don't need anything, I don't need to be on the rooftop of the W to be having a good time.
Well, you kind of missed that opportunity. You were busy at the CIA, to be honest
I missed
with you.
it, yeah. Well, at least it kept me out of trouble.
Yeah, there you go.
So fortunately, I've gone on to this career. But those are a few of the places. That's kind of my vibe. Even all the way up into DC Ranch, Marketplace. I like going to those spots. Places that are good family friendly places
I'm with
as well.
I'm surprised we haven't run into each other. You probably named 4 of my places. That
good.
About. Yeah,
nice. You have good taste.
Yeah, so do you. Well, Director Roemer, thank you so much for teaching us today, keeping us safe daily, hourly, by the second, and your entire team. You've given them credit. I know there's a big team behind you, so thank you to all. I will have information on the website, where we can click your link to find out more information about how to continue to stay safe. So thank you so much. Director Tim Roemer, Arizona Department of Homeland Security.